Tribe Talk, week number 6 is coming at you. Week number 7 is coming up here as week 6 ended. And another tough ball game for the Clarke Indians. And we're talking now with the head football coach of the Clarke Indians, Duane Matthess, here on Tribe Talk. And Coach, once again, thank you. And always tough to come off of a game like Albia, in a game that you guys were in for most of the first half as well. And it just snowballed one thing after another, and ended up being a 40-8 score in favor of them.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me, Damon. Appreciate you doing this for us. It was 6-0 almost there for the first quarter, and like you said, things kind of just really once that little snowball got rolling, it turned into an avalanche, and then it was a pretty tough second quarter. Second half though, even though obviously a running clock, we did score. Scored a 2-point conversion, so it was, Byron Rivera scored a touchdown for us. So, and nice throw by John Bear to Riley Domina for the 2-point conversion. It seems like this is a constant theme. Every time we get together, we got a new person playing quarterback because our quarterback's been injured, and I don't know if there's correlation there that our line's not doing a good enough job blocking, and we need to do a better job coaching them up to get them there. Some of it's just kind of been a freak thing, but the nice thing, our team showed resilience and some grit like they have all season long, and battled through it, and it was nice to see them compete till the end.
And you get to go back at it, like you said. You look back at the game, and you really played two quarterbacks in the ball game. Started out with Peyton Winship before he went down with an injury, and then put John Bear in there, and started to move the football a little bit on the offensive side in the second half. And Byron had 122 multi-purpose yards, added in that touchdown for him, and then played well defensively. Talk about his effort on Friday night.
Yeah, Byron's been just, if I had to pick one word for Byron, it would be consistent. He's just been consistently right there. And we're talking about a kid who hasn't played football since his freshman year. So this is technically his second year of playing organized football. And but he's just he's a great student. First of all, he takes care of business in the classroom, and I just couldn't be prouder to have him as one of our senior captains, because of the example that he's setting for our younger guys. And when we start having success next season, and these little successes that we get this season, I think it's a direct reflection upon our senior leadership that we've had with Nick McVeigh and obviously Byron Rivera and Ryan Bobles.
And you talk about it week in and week out too. Riley Domina's name also keeps popping up as one of the guys that contributes a lot offensively, defensively especially. Led the team in tackles once again this week, picked up another sack, added in a tackle for loss in the ball game as well, I do believe. Talk about Riley. I know he's been all over the field, played multiple positions, and he's done well at all of them.
I'll tell you what, if Riley weighed about another 50 pounds, he'd probably be, D1 scholarships, pounding down his door. But he's got a 140-pound frame on him, and he uses every bit of that 140-pound frame. And the highest compliment I could probably give Riley is he's the type of kid that you'd love to see your daughter marry. And not that I want my my first grade daughter marrying Riley or anything like that, but he's just a great kid. He is he really makes it enjoyable to coach this team. And Riley's not the only one that makes it enjoyable. We got great kids all over the place. We got in every position I can name guys like Riley that are just awesome student athletes, and it really makes it enjoyable to come to work every day, even though obviously the season's not going like how we'd like it to go, and but that's all right. We're gonna get there. I'm confident we're gonna get there. I hope I know the administration and others are confident and like what they're seeing. Hopefully, let's see if we can start improving some of our facilities here. And hopefully, we can improve on that. I know, especially since I think eventually we'll be adding soccer to our athletic program here at Clarke. And I'll tell you what, it'd be really nice to see a nice C at midfield and on a turf field.
Be pretty cool, especially try getting a turf field. And that'd be really good to upgrade the facilities, as you say, and start bringing some pride into the program like that.
Well, and I think it just makes sense. I mean, to have that to make that natural transition to, if we're going to be a championship contender program, obviously you take away having to paint the fields. Now not only can you practice on it, you can. The marching band can have access to it. The soccer team, anyone can have access to it, and you don't have to worry about it kind of getting run down and damaged. And so I hope that's a way that I really hope that we can start striving towards, and I think it makes a lot of sense. And you look at programs like Central Decatur and Mount Ayr, Martinsdale, St. Mary's, all those smaller schools around us have it, and I think there's no reason that we can't strive for that and work towards that.
Absolutely, and be great to see the facilities, like you say, upgrade and add some pride into the community just a little bit more. Before we wrap up the Albia game real quick, I want to talk about that second half defensively. You guys held them to a shutout in the second half on the defensive side of the football. Talk to us about that. How important was that for you guys mentally to come out and pitch a shutout in the second half?
Well, I told our players at halftime, I said, look, we got to play for some pride. We got to play for the person next to you, the name on the front of the jersey. And, I think our boys responded well and came out and continued to fight. And I think, part of that is I'm not going to, sugarcoat it. I think Albia at that point started to rotate some players in, which kind of helped. Although they put number 92, or 63 or 92, whichever one it was, depending on the jersey that they put on them, the illegal jersey that they put on them. I'll leave it at that. He's a big boy. He's like, easily probably 6'1", 270, 280 maybe. And he was their second string quarterback. So, the second coming of Jared Lorenzen of Kentucky, he posed a challenge for us just in size. Riley did a great job one time forcing him in and making the tackle and just kind of hanging on and strapping on the saddle, and it was a good job by his part. But it was depending on how things shake out next year with our district assignments, it'll be interesting if we get them on our schedule again. So I know I'll look forward to it.
Segment number 1 brought to you by Joe's Hack and Quack Barbershop. We'll be right back. Segment number 2 of Tribe Talk is brought to you today by Osceola Dental Care, and talking with Coach Matthess. And Coach, you guys coming off of a big victory on the JV side tonight. You guys took on Panorama of Panora and defeated them 38-34 in what was a defensive battle in the first half, you could say, and an offensive shootout come the second half. A lot of fireworks to be had in the second half of football. And you guys hung in there tough and jumped out to an early lead in the ball game, and looked good offensively and defensively, strong and stout, and then ultimately came away with the victory.
Yeah, it was nice to see us put some drives together and move the ball up and down the field. I know if you asked Coach Reese, he'd say that we have to get better defensively, which we just need to put ourselves in better position, and I think we'll be fine. But it was, excuse me, it was nice to, we put up almost 400 yards of total offense, 367 yards. We actually ran less plays than they did. So, we ran 45 plays compared to their 58. And, we had 316 yards rushing. So, obviously, when you have 316 yards rushing, you expect to do some good things. John and Byron, both had 10 and 11 carries respectively for them, and John led us with 157 yards rushing, and Byron was right behind him with 100 yards rushing. We actually, our punter actually was our third leading rusher with a botched punt that he ended up taking off with, and Dalton Stubbe rumbled and tumbled for 41 yards on one rushing attempt. So. Those are some of the highlights that we had. We struggled a little bit with some of our younger kids getting in there and running some plays. But I think you're going to see that anytime when you have those younger groups. We did have a freshman at quarterback tonight, Zethan May. He was 3 for 10. So he struggled it early with I think the ball was a little slippery for him. But he was 3 for 10 for 51 yards. He did have a touchdown. Also did throw a pick. But that's it's good to see him get some experience because right now Zethan's our future. I'd like to see him get a little bit more confident, and that's going to come with age as well as time in the offense. And but I think he could be really good by the time he's a junior and senior.
Absolutely, and you look at the game itself, and what you don't see on the stat line is the wind in that ball game too. That kind of affected a few of the passes. It affected a couple of the punts, big kickoffs as well, punting into the wind, and it was a straight south wind headed to the north, and posed some issues at time, and it kind of helped you out at times as well. It looked a couple different things.
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny, Byron Rivera was up for, the KSIB, I think, football player of the week or whatnot, or was it athlete of the week?
Yep.
He had, obviously, 100, he had 100 yards rushing. He also had 157 yards, return yards. He actually took one back to the house, for a touchdown there. He, averaged 39 yards a return. And he also had a pick tonight. It was a great game for Byron, and I think that it's nice seeing those guys have some success out there, and they've we're a young team. There's been some times when it's just we've been outmatched, and it was nice to see us against a team that was comparable and size, and it wasn't like we lined up against them and we were facing gigantors or across the line, and so it was and I think this goes to show the kids, like, hey, if we get in the weight room and we start buying in what Coach Matthess is trying to tell us to get stronger, like we can do some things when we get out on that football field because these plays work,
right?
Right. So we just need to, just again continue to get stronger. Can't do anything about getting bigger. That's genetics. But we can get stronger. So we can get faster and quicker, and and I think those things will come. Once they get some success like that.
And you said the stat line for Byron, again, consistent. Doesn't matter what level he's playing at, he's playing consistently. And John Bear had a great night running the football as well. You talk a little bit about that kind of stuff as far as the success you want to see them having, and it might not come necessarily at the varsity level right now, but the stuff that you guys are doing as a JV program and working towards that future really is starting to pay off. It looks like.
Yeah, I mean, you look at John. I mean, he had a great game defensively. He had 2.5 tackles for loss. I mean, he had a half a sack. 5 total tackles. I mean, so him and Alejandro Byford. Alejandro had a sack and as well as a tackle and half for loss. I mean, so those two leading the way defensively for us. And look, Alejandro's a sophomore, John's a junior. I mean, so we're going to get these guys back. Mm-hmm. Another year in the system, another year a little bit stronger, and those guys are going to have no doubt that those guys are going to work hard in the off season to get better.
And as you worked in some of your younger guys, talk about a few of those guys that kind of stood out to you a little bit, whether they show up on your stat line or not, but some of the younger guys that kind of stepped up into the roles tonight when you worked them in.
Sure. One of the freshmen that kind of caught my eye, who was in position a lot of times, was Ryan Coe. Mm-hmm. I mean, he plays an outside backer for us. I mean, he had 2.5 tackles. I mean, but he also had a tackle for loss. So that's good to see. Another one that did pretty well is Lane Cruikshank. He had 3 tackles, but he also had a couple receptions. Two catches for 11 yards. So nothing that is knocking anyone over. But I mean, it's there's things that you see, and I mean, obviously, Zethan I talked about. Who's a freshman, and we have a lot of freshmen that are contributing at the varsity level that I think would be just dominating at the freshman level if they're playing there. I mean, so. It's going to be interesting to see. I think it's going to be night and day difference when you look at those freshmen today versus those freshmen when they're seniors.
Right. That will do it for segment number 2. We'll be right back for the final segment previewing Central Lee. Final segment of this week's Tribe Talk is brought to you by Osceola Foods. And Coach, you guys now have the rest of the week to prepare for Central Lee, a tough team, top team in the district. Was picked to finish number 1 or number 2 by most people in the district, and now you guys get to host them at home and try finding some things you guys can work on this week to improve in this JV game. Kind of can help you see some of those things as well, a little more what you guys can see against competition, and show your guys this is what we need to be doing on a weekly basis.
Yeah, that's kind of the number one. We got through it healthy, I mean, so that's obviously a bonus. You always kind of have a worry, especially the way this season's gone. It seems like we've kept Clarke County Hospital in business with how many people we've been sending them. But so I told our kids after the game, I said, this is, that team that we faced, showed tremendous heart and grit. I mean, they didn't give up. They're fighting in it, and they're scratching and clawing. And I said, that's what we need to see from our guys, regardless of what the score is. I mean, because we got up by, double digits, and they just didn't quit. Mm-hmm. They didn't quit at all. And, so... Central Lee poses some challenges because they're big, they're physical. So we gotta bring our lunch pail and our hard hat this week because like I tell our guys every week when we get on the bus, it's time to punch the clock. It's a business trip, and so obviously we'll probably be undersized as we face them, as we have been all year long. But our kids, I'm confident that they won't quit.
What would you like to see from your team on Friday night, facing Central Lee? Most people are obviously they're going to write it off anyway. As far as that, Central Lee's coming in to just play another game, and you guys are trying to fight for that pride that you talk about. You're trying to fight for some of the positives. What would you like to see your team accomplish on Friday night?
Well, I think number one, our team hasn't quit in any of the games that they've. Sometimes they've gotten down. I mean, I'd like to see us put some drives together, and just maybe get some confidence that they can do this, on a Friday night, not just in a JV game, and and start putting things together. And I'll tell you what, I've been a part of a lot of different teams, Damon, and it's crazy what confidence can do to a team, and what I'll go back to last Friday, 6-0, then that snowball starts falling, and next thing you know, it's out of reach.
Right.
I mean, so it'd be nice to be in a game where we get some of those breaks and bounces that we've given teams. Like we last 2 games we've had 3 blocked punts. I mean, that's something that we got to clean up. And instead of us giving up a block punt, let's get one.
Right.
And, let's get an interception. Let's get a fumble. All those things. Let's be opportunistic and make. I tell our guys all the time, offense isn't the only one that can score.
Right.
Defenses can too. I mean, so it's crazy to see. If we come out and jump on a team or something like that, what confidence could do to our group. So. If it doesn't come out the way that we want it on the scoreboard, we got to find little victories along the way.
And you talked about the confidence that it can bring, and what you guys accomplished tonight can kind of lead into what you guys want to accomplish on Friday night, taking on Central Lee and seeing your team, like you talked about in the second segment there, sustaining drives. And you guys did that well tonight in the JV game. You think that can carry over on Friday night and give you guys that same sort of confidence moving down the road?
I really think it can, and that's why I kind of jumped at the chance when Panorama put out an email saying that they were looking for a JV game because Sadell canceled theirs, because I just I'd like to see what those guys can see that, and we've watched a couple plays that we saw on film, and we executed pretty crisp, and so it can be done. So. That's what the message that I want to tell these guys, and so I'm hoping that they start having some of that confidence in themselves like the coaching staff has had in them.
And you guys are sending it at it, and like you said, you guys haven't quit yet and don't plan to do so. And what would it take to pull off the upset on Friday night at home in front of your home crowd in Osceola to pull off the upset of Central Lee?
Well, I'll say this. I've been on some teams where the bus trips are pretty long. Central Lee's got a 3-hour trip over here. I mean, it's a haul. Yeah. I mean, it's probably over 3 hours. I know last year they talked about that was a tough ride over. And so you ride a school bus over, and maybe they'll get a charter bus and whatnot, but regardless if it's a school bus or charter bus, that's not a fun trip over. And so, and I know that, obviously being with our record, it's easy to maybe kind of be underestimated. So I think what our guys need to do is come out Friday and right from the get-go and just figuratively punch them right in the mouth. Bloody that nose. It's kind of what you do to a bully, at times. Not saying that Central Lee's a bully, but they're going to be bigger. They're probably going to be stronger. They're going to be faster. And, we got to just come out and try to match their physicality. And if we can do that, then I think maybe some good things can happen. And then, hey, let's see where that snowball goes.
Exactly. That snowball, hopefully falling in your guys' favor. And looking down the road just a little bit at this game, and you talk about the different things that they present to you guys and challenges that they can present as far as size-wise. You guys come out and get something going early against a team like that on that long bus trip. 3 hours it's still 3 hours on a bus, no matter what kind of bus you're riding on. and you guys get something going, it could lead to something special.
Yeah, that's what we by no means have our players packed up their tents and closed the shop. I mean, they still want to compete. I mean, so I know that they'll be fired up, and when we walk down the sidewalk and you hear the bells chiming, it's it gives you goosebumps. I mean, and I know our players that really love it, and I'm looking forward to another game on Clarke Field.
And as you guys prepare for that game, finally, before we let you go, who is someone you'd like to see have a breakout game on Friday night? Someone that has been there, but you want them to step over that line just one more step and lead you guys into some success come Friday night.
Well, I'd like to see every single one of my players, step. I mean, above the, continue to make progress. I'll say a couple names. One defensively, Jake Smith. I think he's continued to get better defensively for us. I mean, he's making some tackles. He's being active. He's being disruptive in there. So I'd just like to see him really consistently get better. I mean, he's one that the sky's the limit. He works real hard. I mean, potential's there. We just got to channel it and keep him going and keep him working. To continue to get better. And then offensively, excuse me. I'd probably say, even though we've talked about him a lot, as our guys can still get better, is Byron Rivera. He's starting to run the ball harder. He took some shots earlier in the season, I think, that maybe got him a little tentative, but now he's back to running that ball a lot harder. And I think a game like this one is exactly kind of what he needed to show that. I mean, to show himself. I mean, sometimes you can be your own worst enemy in the sense of trying to slow yourself down. Because especially if you haven't played the sport for a while, you just you're trying to protect yourself. Right. And he's trying to. I think he's finally showed himself that. Hey, I'm not going to get hurt, and he hasn't gotten hurt. He's been consistent. But hey, there's correlation to that. He was in the weight room all summer long, and he's held up. And he's not the biggest guy in the world, but I'd like to see him continue to run harder, and have another 100-yard rushing game this Friday night.
Be huge, especially towards your guys' success. Indeed, Coach, final thoughts before we head off into the work week.
No, it's just super excited to have another game at Clarke Field. It's I think people. I'll just say this: my wife on Friday night, she's like, I had like 4 people come up and ask me like, "You're coming back, right?" I mean, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. We knew that the challenges that we were going to have here to begin with, and rebuilding a program and the culture and everything that it takes to that championship level teams have. And look, we are in it for the long haul. We will get there. I promise all our fans and supporters that we will get there, and it'll be sweet when we do. It's just let's continue to chip away and at the rock, and until we finally can break it. And I think parents are going to be supportive of what we're trying to do, and they have been, and we have a great parent group. So I'm excited. I'm still excited for this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, so it's just I think especially after this season, there's a lot of growth that can still be made. So I'm excited and looking forward to it.
It'll be great to see the Tribe Nation out on a Friday night in Osceola as you guys get ready to take on Central Lee. Coach, thank you for taking some time here on Tribe Talk as you do every week, and looking forward to the progress you guys continue to make.
Hey, thanks, Damon. One Tribe.
That is Tribe Talk for week number 6. We'll be back next week with a recap of Central Lee. Tribe Talk brought to you by Joe's Hack and Quack Barbershop, Osceola Dental Care, and Osceola Foods.